why not? All right, this isn't going to take long. It was something I've been, hearing occasionally and seeing on Facebook and stuff. So I just thought I'd kind of talk about it. And Lee kind of touched on quite a bit of it yesterday. So that's one thing that's going to make it a lot quicker because most of us were here then and saw it. But just wanted to. There's a lot of division in the body and a lot of argument and just disagreement about stuff that we just have no reason to argue and disagree with or about. So, and basically, why are we arguing with one another on non-salvation issues? So, there's like I said, lots of division within Torah observant believers. People arguing about when the month starts, when the year starts, and there's a lot of other things as well. So I'm just going to try to put it in a little bit of perspective here. So a couple things when people start talking about when to start the month, some people started on the conjunction. Some people start with the first sliver in Israel. Some people say, hey, it's the first sliver in your local area. And they want to argue with one another on Facebook and one another, and just when there's really no reason to argue about it. Then you also got people when you start the year. Some people say it's the new moon closest to the equinox. Some say it's the first new moon after the equinox. Some say it's the new moon when the barley's of Eve. Others say, just don't worry about it, just follow Jewish calendar. Because they've been doing it all along. So once again, there's 4 different ways here. And once again, these are just some of the highlights, the most common ones that I'm finding. And so there are a whole lot more opinions out there on each of these. Some people, when to eat the Passover meal. Some people, you got to do it on the 14th. Then other people, got to be on the 15th. Can't start the meal before the sunset on the 14th. You can't do it. You're doing it wrong. Shame on you. It's just some of the opinions people have. And some of them, you shouldn't be eating the Passover meal at all anymore. You shouldn't be doing any lamb. If you're going to do it, do chicken. Because you can't do lamb. So, exactly. So, once again, it's just, and there's, all of these are opinions that people, they just have just a fervent belief that this is the way it is, and they want to just argue and complain about it with one another. When's the Sabbath? 7th day of the week? Day following the new moon? Pronunciations. Here's another one. This will split people up in a hurry. Is it Yahweh? Yehovah? Yehovah? Yahuwah? Yahweh? There's a lot. Like I said, and there are tons. And there are people that that they just won't talk to you if you say it differently than them. Name of the son: Yahshua, Yeshua, Yehoshua, Yeshua, I forget this one. Yahusha. That's right. So once again, it's all pronunciations, and I think there are very, very few of us who grew up speaking Hebrew. And I think I've heard and read and seen that unless you start speaking a language when you're about his age, you will never ever be able to speak it 100% correct. Now that might be different than just one word here and there. Yeah, Calvin?
I just wanted to say the current Hebrew is not the old Hebrew.
Yeah.
It's a restart of Hebrew. So
exactly.
That's not right.
Exactly. So there again. Shape of the earth. Is it round? Is it flat? People will argue about this till the cows come home. And there's no reason for arguing. Here's a big one too. They'll put Trinity. Yes or no. People will argue about it. Role of women in the congregations. Should they just cook and play music? It's okay for them to do a message occasionally, or they just let them lead the congregations. There again, you can find all these opinions. And there again, I'm not talking about out in the mainstream evangelical churches. I'm just talking about within Torah observant believers. You can find all these opinions and positions. So, once again, like I said, went through. These are just some of a few of the disagreements that I'm hearing and so forth. So I just kind of figured I'd go through and kind of run through them. So we came up with 3 different positions on when to start the month, 4 on when to start the year, 3 on when to eat Passover, 2 on when is the Sabbath. Pronunciations of the Father's name, the Son's name, earth geometry, the Trinity, and the role of women. So when you just look at those, okay, that's some things. But if you start doing the math on this, things grow exponentially. So you get there. So then you multiply the 2 of them. So now we got 12 different possibilities of opinions with just the 2 of those. Then you throw in Passover and Sabbath and the Father's name, Son's name, geometry, Trinity, role of women.
The numbers out.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. So when it all comes down to it, you basically have 21,600 different combinations of beliefs. At least. And you see how it grew exponentially.
Just skimming the surface.
Just skimming the surface. 21,000 different combinations of things. Things that people are arguing with one another over in Facebook and in person, and splitting up congregations and breaking fellowship and everything else. And those are all things that really, if you look at them, have no real bearing on our salvation. So why are we arguing about them? Why do we do it? So once again, 21,600 different combinations of beliefs. So that means that there is a 1 in 21,600 or a 0.005% chance you're going to have the exact same beliefs as someone else in this walk. So just take a look at that number and see. I mean, you got a lot better chance of getting struck by lightning than having agreeing with someone in this walk 100%. So just let it sink in. So think about it. At some point, we were all wrong about something in this walk. Just think back. None of us got to where we are right now. We don't have the same beliefs now that we had when we started. We were all wrong at one time. And everyone has a reason for why they believe what they believe, and most of them can bring out Scripture and support their belief. So we should all show the love and grace of our example, Yeshua, to these people. On some things, you can just agree to disagree. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't let the differences cause you to break fellowship with someone. Now, it may mean you won't fellowship with them on a specific day because you're keeping the Moedim on a different day than they are. There's nothing wrong with that. In my opinion, it'll always be, as long as you're keeping the calendar or whatever that you're keeping based on your study, I don't see anything wrong with it. I could be wrong, and I'm sure other people will say I am. Remember that they're people too, and they may not have been studying as long as you have. But treat everyone with dignity and respect. Don't talk to or about them with disdain or in a derogatory tone. Because like I said, they're people too, and they're doing the best they can do with what they've been given to them. They may be wrong, but just keep in mind it's possible, just might be possible, that you could be the one who's wrong. So let's focus on the important things. We know, I don't think there's any question, we're all to absorb all the Torah that's possible. We all know that we can't do it all, because some of it you just can't do. We're not all priests, we're not all men, we're not all women. We should focus on keeping the Torah as best we can. We know that we're to keep the Sabbath. When we keep it, it might be different than somebody else. But like I said, their study has led them to something different. Don't degrade them or talk bad about them to them or behind their backs. There's no reason for it. We know we're supposed to keep the feast. We may just disagree on when, But there again, there's nothing wrong with that. We know where to eat clean. I don't think there's any. That's probably one of that's probably the most agreed upon thing out there. But there is still differences there too, yeah. Can you eat mushrooms? Can you not eat mushrooms? And some people, they're back and forth on them. I don't eat them just because I don't like them. I don't have to worry about that one. She loves them. So once again, let's be examples of what we're supposed to do, not what we're not supposed to do. Let's let others see Yeshua in us, not the bickering and division that they see in the mainstream churches. This only serves to turn them away from the truth. So if someone's new to this walk comes in, and I've heard it multiple times, y'all aren't any better than the rest of them. Y'all are just bickering and arguing among yourselves. There you go. Sometimes worse. So, that kind of attitude and interaction between those of us who are supposed to all be getting along, people from outside come in and they see that and they're like, well, y'all aren't any different. I'll just go back to eating pork and keeping Christmas. It's a whole lot easier. So let's remember, folks, on Acts 15:20 says, but so we're talking about what they're supposed to do with new believers. You're telling them to abstain from the defilements of idols and from whoring and from what is strangled and from blood. And from Moshe of old time in every city and them that preach him being read in the synagogue. So once again, they were talking about what do we do with these new believers? They said, tell them not to do these things. As long as they don't do these things, you can fellowship with them. And then when you fellowship with them, they'll learn the rest. And so that's what I think should be important. There's no reason to just, stop fellowshipping with someone because they use a different pronunciation or they keep a different calendar than you. That's okay.
What I call that?
What's that?
Technicality.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
There's, but there are people out there that will. We've had people come here that say, oh, well, y'all aren't going to say his name this way. We're just not going to come here anymore. Okay.
And what does Yahweh say?
Yeah.
If you cannot love your brother,
Mm-hmm.
who you can see, you can't fellowship with him.
Mm-hmm.
So we better learn how to
Yeah.
work through our technicality.
Yeah. Agreed. And I think that the biggest thing is, like I said, just don't argue with one another. There's no reason, nothing to say that you can't have an honest, open discussion, because, like I said before, I think that I'll be the first minute. I've been wrong a lot, and I'm open to the fact that I might be wrong now still about some things. So it's just things when you have discussions with one another, not arguments with one another.
Because Yahshua will come and put his foot down, and when
Exactly.
he does, it'll all be settled.
And I firmly believe that when he comes, we're all going to go, oh, that's what that meant. That's what you were saying there. And I think that the big thing is we should all. I think we're all responsible for studying it for ourselves. We can't just listen to someone who stands up here and just do what we say because we say it. Exactly. Because there's no one that's between me and the Father. It's all I in the end I can't say, well, I did that because he said so. That ain't going to cut it.
Knowing the wonderful thing is that our brother stands at the right hand,
Mm-hmm.
who is for this flesh,
Mm-hmm.
and knows all of these feelings, every
Mhm.
one of them. None of us have a feeling that he didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference is he didn't see it.
Yeah.
But he knows. So therefore, he's standing there, saying, okay, Daddy, I know about that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's comfort.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, I think one day we will all. He's going to come back and he's going to tell us. Until then, we can just we can talk it amongst ourselves. We've had exchanges with diehard evangelicals that I think it was the Trinity we were discussing, and we were both using the exact same scripture verses to support our opinion. And how we can both look at the exact same. Even in I'll take your King James. Even I read it in the King James, it still says the same thing to me that it did before. And so, why that is, I'm not sure. He's spoken to some, but not others. I don't know. But I think it's just the biggest thing I saw was that just, the bickering among ourselves is it's got to stop. You know, we've got to get along, and I said just agree to disagree, but be respectful to one another.
And understand that this is the time of the first fruit.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that is just the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we are.
Yeah, Felix?
One thing I've learned from me is that after doing this for close to 10 years, is there's just some things that aren't fixed.
Yeah.
As far as belief. And I've talked to some folks and wound up being one of these positions that I should become a student.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes there are people that they are not ever going to change their mind, and that's fine. And then some of them, it's because it's that particular belief on that particular topic, that's their identity, and it's hard for them to give up. They're not going to do it. So, just like I said, agree to disagree and move on, because all you're going to do is get yourself all worked up and upset, and them worked up and upset, and it's just not worth it. Just shake their hand and love them, and
I got a funny way of being upset. Maybe that's just a little sugar in the tank. But there's some things that when it comes up, I got to get up.
yeah. And sometimes you just got to get up and go. That's it. Sometimes that's all you can do.
That's right.
So,
There's not a way.
yeah.
So stay on.
And that's all I had.
Can I read the scripture?
Sure.
The scripture